Good afternoon, everyone. It's already afternoon, but I hope you got a snack and are ready to get going before we actually break for lunch after this session. I'm Carla Friedrich Medina with the United Nations Environment Program Global Peatlands Initiative team. This session is about knowledge management, communication, and advocacy. Julie, are you doing the clicker? Me. Okay. I'll say next, yeah. So let me start with the problem we are all trying to solve. Everyone in this room knows something the rest of us need, a method that worked, an argument that landed, a mistake worth not repeating. In many cases, the knowledge already exists. It's just scattered in projects, in reports, in people's heads, in the memory of organizations that may not always be around. So my question for the next few minutes is simple. How do we make what you know visible, findable, and useful to the whole community? The GPI, next, sorry. The GPI is the connective tissue for the Global Peatlands Initiative, and this is the infrastructure that holds us together. At the center is the Knowledge Hub at globalpeatlands.org. Around it, expert training sessions on YouTube, the Virtual Peatlands Pavilion and Library, which you will hear about more in a few minutes, the Research Working Group Slack channel with 182 members, our newsletters, updates, and bulletins, and the World Environment Situation Room and Peatland Story Maps, among others. Whatever format you work with, there's a channel for it. And here's the important part. This isn't UNEP's platform that you visit. It belongs to all 68 partners and growing of the Global Peatlands Initiative, and it's yours to use and yours to fill. Because knowledge here isn't only the peer-reviewed paper, it's the technique a community has refined over generations, the photo that makes a minister stop and pay attention, the training video, even the trial that failed. Scientific, practical, local, visual, all of it counts. Next. This is some of the evidence base that GPI members have built together so far. The Global Peatlands Assessment, the Peatland Hotspot Atlas, regional peatland strategies from the Congo Basin to Asia, economics and finance publications, the Global Peatlands Map and regional peatlands story maps. I won't take you through all of these, but every one of these came from partners like you contributing what they know. The point is, the evidence base exists, it's substantial, and it's findable in one place. So we collectively can improve it and update it as new research comes to light. Next, please. Knowledge only matters if it travels, if it reaches the room where decisions get made. That's advocacy, of course. Raising our voices together to inform, influence, and shape global goals for peatlands. Across the G20 the climate, biodiversity, and desertification conventions, Ramsar, UNEA, IUCN, peatlands now have a seat at the table they were absent from a few years ago. And that visibility came from a collective voice. We're far stronger advocating together than any of us alone. Every time you share your work through these channels, you're feeding that advocacy, giving each other the evidence and the stories to make the case. The GPI The GPI website is not just a one-way source of information. It's really a hub. We have recently upgraded it to make it easier for you to publish your resources directly into the hub. And there are three simple steps to do so. One, go to globalpeatlands.org, create an account. It just takes a few minutes. Two, click create content and choose what you're sharing, news, an article, an event, a publication, a video. And three, fill in fields and submit, and then we'll quickly review on our side, and it's there for the whole community to use and to see. So my request for this week is log in and post. If all GPI members do that regularly, the hub's value will continue to grow exponentially, driven by all your work. Next. And one more thing, posting content is the first step. Making sense of it is the next. Right now, hard-won lessons often stay within the partner who learned it. We want it to travel. So we're building a Peatlands Matter best practice collection. This is the second phase following the work that FAO did before, which Amy spoke about yesterday. It's a structured way of capturing not just what a project did, but what worked, what didn't, under what conditions, so others can also benefit from it. It runs on 5 core criteria, one of which is bringing together different kinds of knowledge, science as well as community-based and indigenous knowledge and practice. So next slide, a couple of things to take away. One, we are stronger together. A collective voice advocating for peatlands, as a collective voice advocating for peatlands, we reach further than any of us can alone. 2, the Knowledge Hub is yours. So take from it and contribute to it as much as possible. So log in this week and start contributing. And the best practice collection, as I mentioned, is coming. So please start thinking about what you would like to share. We really want to hear from you. So everything is behind the QR code on screen. Let's make what each of you knows findable for all of us, so we can all use it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. And now online we will have Richard Lindsay from University of East London.
Hello, my name is Richard Lindsay, and I'm the creator and curator of the GPI's Virtual Peatlands Pavilion. What exactly is the Virtual Peatlands Pavilion, and why is it relevant to you? Firstly, what is it? It's a global showcase available to anyone with an internet connection. Why is it relevant to you? It provides you with an opportunity to show the world the amazing peatland conservation work that you do, and helps you to spread the message about why peatland conservation is a vital contributor to our collective sustainable future. It begins with a 3D model created in open source software called Blender. The model is then textured to give realism, and the building is then filled with model display items designed to feature peatland conservation work around the world. At multiple places throughout the model, a virtual camera takes a 360-degree photograph. These photographs are then transferred into a virtual tour software program called 3D Vista. And the various 360-degree images are then linked together to create a virtual tour. When we open the tour online, there's a drop-down menu to the top right and a main navigation menu down the left-hand side. If we click on the tour information, we can see that there are 9 floors to the pavilion, each themed around a broad topic. To enter the pavilion, we click on the blinking arrows. And once we are in the main atrium, we can click on the floor map, which opens a model of the floors and allows us to jump to any chosen floor. However, back in the atrium, we can click on most nearby objects to find that they are hotspots that enable us to access new information. In this case, a video about the amount of carbon stored in peatlands. As well as the floor plan to navigate, there are also lifts or elevators and sometimes spiral staircases that can take us to other floors. And we can continue to click hotspot objects to open further information, or in this case, to open a 3D model of the world on which are highlighted multiple key peatland locations and actions. Going back to the floor plan model, we can also go to the top floor, floor 9, to visit the Virtual Pavilion cinema, where we live stream peatland events. Meanwhile, back in the entrance lobby, we have notice boards that advertise upcoming events and latest news. So, if you would like to see and be inspired by all the peatland conservation activities going on across the globe, or are simply interested to visit other peatlands around the world, just follow these links. If, on the other hand, you would like to feature your own work within the pavilion, please contact the GPI team, because we would be delighted to feature what you are doing. Thank you.
From the ecosystem carbon conservation. Where is, there you are. So do you want me to do,
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Santiago Rocha Cárdenas, co-founder of Tech. I'm gonna make this presentation on behalf of all the work that my team and we are doing in Colombia. I like to start with a simple idea. The greatest threat facing peatlands is not only their degradation, it's their invisibility. When we first started working with peatlands in Colombia, we discovered something unexpected. The bigger barrier wasn't funding, it wasn't science, it wasn't politics. It was that almost nobody knew what a peatland is. And that changed everything. We realized that before restoring ecosystems, we first had to restore their place in people's imagination. La anterior, por favor. Okay. That realization completely changed the way we approached conservation. Instead of asking, how do we restore peatlands, we start asking, how do we making people care about peatlands? Because people cannot protect ecosystems they don't understand. Communication stopped being something we did after the project. It became our very first conservation intervention. Our first success wasn't restoring an hectare. Our first success was building trust. When we meet Don Jose and Doña Mireya, we quickly realized that they didn't need another lecture about carbon. They already understood their land. What they need was a conservation about water, about their families, and also about their futures. So we changed our language, we listened before we explained, we built trust before proposing solutions. Today, those same landowners are not beneficiaries, they are partners with us. Together, we continue restoring and protecting peatlands. That experience taught us something fundamental. Conservation starts with people, not with projects. Next one. One of our biggest lessons is that science never changes, only the story changes. With local communities, we talk about water, livelihoods, and future generations. With the private sector, we discuss water security, operational resiliency, and ESG. With scientists, we speak through data, monitoring, and peer review research. With journalists, we tell human stories. With children, we speak about wonder, pride, and nature. The science is exactly the same, but every audience needs its own language. We didn't change the science, we changed the history. The visibility pathway. Over time, we realized that communication creates a chain reaction. First, people become aware, then communities become engaged. Science provides credibility, stories amplify the science. Media creates visibility, visibility influences policy, policy opens new financial opportunities. Those opportunities make long-term conservation possible. This is what we call the visibility pathway. Communication doesn't happen after conservation. Communication makes conservation possible. One example of this pathway is the Colombian Water Security Standard, NTC 6766. For the first time, peatlands were explicitly recognized within a national technical framework for water security. That didn't happen because we produced more scientific papers. It happened because we translated science into language that decision makers could understand. Science becomes policy because it first becomes understandable. Next one, please. This is the NTC 6766 where peatlands are included explicitly. Visibility creates markets. The next one, please. Today, we are applying the same philosophy to climate finance. Together with ColCX, we are helping develop one of Colombia's first carbon methodology for high mountain ecosystems. Our objective is much bigger than create carbon credits. We want to create a market capable of financing peatland conservation over the long term, because grants alone will never be enough. Conservation needs excellent science, but it also needs sustainable business models. Making peatlands visible also means making them visible. The next generation. Perhaps our most important achievement cannot be measured in hectares or tons of carbon. It can be seen in children, in communities, in people who now recognize peatlands as part of their identity. Through documentaries, storytelling, education, and community engagement, we are helping create a generation that understands this ecosystem before they disappear. Our goal has never been simple to restore peatlands. Our goal is to build a society that cannot imagine its future without them. Every country represented here in this room have different peatlands, different cultures, different landscapes, different challenges, but we all face exactly the same communication challenges. People do not protect ecosystems they don't understand. Science changes what we know. Communication changes what society values. Policy changes what governments prioritize. Finance change what can be conserved. If we truly want to save peatlands, we need all four. Thank you very much. Next one, please.
Thank you very much, David. Next up is Cristina Amiel from the Universidad Científica del Sur.
good afternoon now, I guess. Thank you for the organizers and for the invitation. I am Cristina Miel. I am Associate Dean for Environmental Engineering for Universidad Científica del Sur, and I'm here very honored to represent FICUS NGO and the Amazon Peatland Consortium. Conservation, we think it starts with publishing a paper that has very important information. And that's what the academy does. We as academics research, publish, and we do believe that that's where it starts. But as David said, conservation really starts when it's shared, it's understood, and when the community takes action. The Amazon Peatland Consortium is a very good example of this. Science, local knowledge, collaboration come together in a project of preserving ecosystems. The interesting thing about the Amazon Peatland Consortium is that this project is in a region, in an area that does not have national protection. It doesn't belong to a preserved project. This is a group of individuals, a community, fighting to protect their ecosystem. Today, rather than a technical show or video, I'm here to share a story. Please, can we watch the video?
Mira, Loreto es la región más extensa y la menos conocida, ¿no? La Amazonía tiene dos partes de ser muy bien diferenciadas, lo que es selva alta no inundable y lo que es selva baja inundable. Y la que está menos estudiada es el bosque inundable, tanto de aguas negras como de aguas blancas. Y el bosque de inundable es una bisagra entre el ecosistema acuático y el ecosistema terrestre inmediatamente. Tiene la más alta diversidad. ¿Por qué razón? Porque en creciente, cuando está inundado, entran los peces, entran reptiles, mamíferos al bosque, como refugio para reproducción y para alimentación. Y cuando el nivel del agua baja, entonces ahora los animales terrestres bajan también a alimentarse, bajan a reproducirse, etc. Entonces, si esto no hubiera, entonces los ecosistemas se separan. Entonces los impactos serían terribles para la diversidad biológica. Que las turberas se han formado hace miles de años y seguirán formándose, especialmente en bosques inundables. Y ¿cuál es lo importante? La captura de carbono. Entonces de ahí la importancia de mantener los bosques inundables, especialmente los que tienen los aguajales, ¿no? Si nosotros no conocemos cómo funciona, ¿de qué desarrollo sostenible hablamos? Entonces, los estudios básicos son muy importantes. Y entonces, eso no lo va a hacer solamente los científicos. Tenemos que entrar a trabajar con la gente que vive en el campo, que conoce por el día a día. Tiene conocimientos acumulados de siglos, sino que nosotros no le estábamos dando el valor que tiene en realidad. Entonces hay que captar esos conocimientos, que son intereses ancestrales, y validar esos. Entonces, la única forma que tenemos es unirnos con ellos y a comenzar a trabajar sin menospreciar los conocimientos. Porque el emprendimiento me parece muy interesante, sobre todo esta zona, y trabajarla, porque no es un área natural protegida donde pues, hay que curar y cuidar. No, la mejor forma de conservar una especie es manejándola. Y para manejar pues hay que conocer todo.
Hello, my name is Diego Portugal El Pino. I'm the director of the Amazon Peatland Consortium and co-founder of Ficus Peru. This initiative sits outside a protected area, but it's an area that is governed by the local community that finds a lot of value in creating a biological baseline in a peatland area. Why? Because this can create a lot of economic and social opportunities for them. If you would like to know more about this opportunity, scan the QR code or feel free to send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a very big effort from FICUS and all of our partners. Here, the role of a university is very important. As a university, we need to gather this ancestral, traditional knowledge and turn that into publishable material that we can share with our community, peatland community, with decision makers. As a university, we generate knowledge and we translate it into education, innovation, and action. And that is part of what we do with the Amazon Peatland Consortium project. I hope this meeting inspires you to make more partnerships. Our partnership has been possible through FICUS NGO, but also in the interest of preserving these peatlands that are at risk of degradation. As we've seen, Loreto is one of the most endangered zones when it comes to deforestation. So if the community finds a value, they will preserve it. If the community finds an economical gateway, they will preserve it. And in partnerships, we find then these alliances can help us to search for real sustainable conservation of peatlands. And I hope this video inspires you to make more stories, and hope to hear all those stories very soon from all of you. Thank you very much.
And now, Yoli from the Landscape Alliance. Over to you.
I keep showing up everywhere. Sorry about it. As we say in Peru, me ven hasta en la sopa. Okay, so we are ready with the presentation, please. I'm gonna put the chronometer so I don't go over time. Okay. Not yet. It's my fault because I sent it at the very last minute. I can start, yeah, okay, let's just start. Okay, so yesterday we heard several times that science is essential for good informed decision making. And of course we all agree with that. If it wasn't a peatlands definition, or if peatland wasn't mentioned in a national wetlands policy, then how could policymakers regulate on peatlands, for instance? But we also know that science alone is not always enough to change pathways, because if that was the case, if knowledge and data were enough by themselves to bring about positive change in policy and practice for ecosystems health, for sustainable management, for improved livelihoods, or justice, equity, etc., we probably wouldn't be facing many of the challenges that we are facing right now. So for science to influence change, many other things need to happen. Someone has to translate the evidence, as my predecessor, the people that spoke earlier also mentioned. Someone has to advocate for it. Someone has to connect it to a policy moment. Someone has to explain why it matters for people's lives. Someone has to challenge assumptions. Someone has to bring all the relevant stakeholders together, like we are here. So today I was asked to speak about the practical sides of strategic outreach and what we have learned from of experience in raising global visibility for tropical peatlands at the Landscape Alliance, formerly known as CIFOR, ICRAF. And since not everyone here is a communicator, let me start with a simple distinction. So strategic communication is the broader effort to shape message, narratives, channels, and products in support of a goal. Now, strategic outreach sits within that, but focuses more directly on engagement. So who we need to reach, why we need to reach them, what we want them to understand, and what we hope they will do next with the information we provide. And At C4ICRAF, then Landscape Alliance with the Global Landscape Forum, over the past 16 years, we have built one of the most extensive open knowledge portfolios on tropical peatlands globally. Today, this includes more than 260 scientific publications or peer-reviewed publications, more than 1,000 outputs alongside dataset, blogs, stories, multimedia products, events, training, policy conversation, learning processes. We have organized some of the biggest gatherings about peatlands with the GLF. We have reached millions of people and stakeholders. But the most important lesson is not the volume of knowledge produced. The real lesson is how we manage to translate that evidence into policy engagement, public narratives, communities of practice, and global visibility at the right time. So what we have done. So we have contributed to this large knowledge base on tropical peatlands. We have produced, as most of all the organizations that are here, journalistic stories, not only about carbon, but about people, biodiversity, livelihoods, fires, restoration, governance, crisis and opportunities. And we have supported major gatherings, as I said. But through that journey, I think there are 3 principles that I realized we have used to guide our work, and I think you will find those useful. The first one is coherence. So while we have conducted extensive research on peatlands, our work has not stopped at the research level. Among all the ecosystems we were on, peatlands became not only a scientific issue, but also a communications issue, a learning issue, a resource mobilization issue, a mail issue, and advocacy issue. And here we have Crystal over there. Since I know her, I think she has published over 40 scientific papers, and she converted me because she started talking to me and she started showing me the importance of peatlands. And since I heard about that back in 2014, I have every year work in putting an output on peatlands in my work plan, as my colleague Budi Kristanti in Indonesia does, and also she supports the ITPC with the government of Indonesia. The second principle is understanding audiences and opportunities before any decision. And why? Because this is where the strategy of communications comes in. Because the best delivery mechanism may not be a field trip with journalists or science interview in TV, whatever. This decision cannot be made only by communicators, only by scientists. It has to be based on a collective reading of the opportunity with different types of expertise at the table. Because the goal, as David said, as Carla said, as everybody has been here said, is not visibility, it's influence. So think before having the idea of producing another video, think what should happen next? Who needs this? What's the decision that can influence these outputs? And after the product is out, we should keep asking, who used this knowledge? Who repeat the message? Who changed a decision? Who funded an action? Those are the questions that tell us whether our reach is working or where we can adjust our plans. And the third principle, because I'm running out of time, is consistency. So as John Colmy told you, Diana once, we need to keep doing this. Beyond the project timeline, beyond the funding cycle, beyond one campaign or deliverable. Every year, on every international date, at every time there is a policy window. So we need to keep doing this. And consistency also means working in partnership. No single organization can carry the peatlands agenda alone. We need each other to repeat, adapt, translate, and amplify the messages. So what can we do next very quickly? I suggest 2 things. First, we need to articulate our efforts better. We need to move from institutional marketing to collective agenda setting. Sometimes, sometimes we need to, we care too much about our logos, being visible. And of course, institutional recognition matters, but the mission has to be bigger than one single organization. And if we want peatlands to move from the margins of to the centers of global conversation, we need communications change, as Carla said, not isolated products. One organization can produce science, another can turn this into a story, another bring into the policy spaces, another translate it for other languages, and use it, and so on. So, and we need all this for the agenda on peatlands to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Yoli. Now we will hear from Frankie Turk from the youth movement. Repeat with a video.
Hello everyone, my name is Frankie and I'm going to be talking to you about Repeat. We are a youth-led grassroots collective for peatlands. But before I get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to the Global Peatlands Initiative for inviting us to talk and giving us this opportunity to share what we've been up to, what we're working on, and potentially find some ways of collaborating, strengthening each other's collective mission. But before I start my presentation, I just wanted to read a little story that someone wrote as part of the Bog Academy program, which I think maybe sets the scene. A bog with a big secret. There is a secret about the bog in Laos. Nobody knows but me. I have to tell somebody. So welcome to my secret. One morning I woke up to a sentence I've been dreading my whole 8 years of living. We're going to the bog. I'm on the bog, footing the turf, when I notice something shining from the sun in the turf. It's a big, huge purple diamond. I'm so amazed. My jaw is on the floor. I was starting to imagine how old this incredible diamond could be, even 10,000 years old. I wanted to share that story because I think it really captures this thing of the initial curiosity that we felt when we first got to know this topic, and why we wanted to do something. This ecosystem is filled with incredible secrets and gems and value, but today in this world, they're undervalued. So that's kind of what we set up to do back in 2020, and now we have this network of amazing people who are joining online primarily, mostly under 30-year-olds. This is a group that formed very organically. We started in Amsterdam, we're registered there as a non-profit, and then we also now work more and more in the UK, so we also now registered in the UK. But we work in lots of different places with communities around the peatlands, mostly in Europe. And yeah, this is a little bit about Repeat. So our vision is really this interconnected world where peatland communities are supported culturally and ecologically. So really bringing these two worlds together, thinking about what are the practices, what are the stories, what are the kind of cultural foundations that will help to restore these landscapes in the future. And we work along 3 sort of pathways, which is creating transformative experiences for people on an individual level, where participants can be inspired and engage and connect with this ecosystem. We facilitate grassroots and community-led interventions, for example, helping with restoration activities, pushing policy, really joining the peatland conversation, strengthening other organizations. And finally, we look at peatlands within a wider frame of how we live and what kinds of ways of relating to land, economy and one another we have, and see peatlands really as teachers and ways of actually reimagining how we live in general. So here are some of our projects. I am just going to give you a brief overview of some of them, but there are other projects I won't mention, and I'm not going to go into so much detail. So feel free to have a look at our website after for more information. This is a camp that we did last year in the Netherlands in 2025, and the idea was to give young people an opportunity to see the different kinds of peatland restoration happening in the Netherlands. So not only the more conservation practices with re-wetting the landscape, but also paludiculture, so growing wet agricultural crops and harvesting them, and this kind of whole movement of re-wetting. And this is a quote from one of the participants. "One moment remains especially vivid in my memory. On hands and knees, waders soaked and muddy, I planted cattails into the wet soil." So you really get this idea of this sensory nature of the camp and the way that it kind of inspires people and engages people to relook at this landscape. And here is a picture from the symposium that we just hosted a couple months ago. We had musicians, we had scientists, we had business people, all kinds of different perspectives, and we brought together over 100 people, mostly young people, on this topic. And it was a really inspirational day, and I think that, yeah, there was something for everyone, and that's something that we really embrace more than anything, is finding people's unique position within this wider story. This is a picture from Bog Academy, which is where the story came from earlier. Bog Academy is a primary school education program based around the 5 senses. So the in-class activities are really about touch, smell, taste, and get these young people to think about peatlands through their senses, and then they go out on a field trip. And we've done this with over 1,000 primary school kids now in Ireland. We've also done it in the UK. These pictures are from the Peatland Justice campaign that we ran, which is about the extraction of peat to be used in the horticultural industry. You can see the words Albert Heijn, that's one of the largest supermarket chains in the Netherlands. The idea was to try to get this supermarket chain to become a front runner and really divest from any kinds of products that were connected to peat extraction. These photos were from the Irish Museum of Modern Art Earthrising Festival back in 2023. We set up a moss tent where people could listen to audio pieces, soundscapes, and a set of kind of poetic interpretations of the moss, and sit with moss in a different kinds of way than they normally would have. Here we have a picture from Peatfest. We have done Peatfest gatherings in lots of different places over the Netherlands and the UK over the last couple of years. These are small get-togethers where people can celebrate and learn about peatlands in a very light-hearted and joyous way. We really think that through this kind of celebration, we can also connect with this ecosystem. And here I have a picture from the Venice Agreement back in 2020. We were one of the key signatories, and we're very much in alignment with the goals and ambition of the Venice Agreement to connect local stories, to amplify the work that's been done really on the ground. So thank you for your time. I hope that was useful. If you have any ideas of how we could connect, how these projects could potentially take life in another location, then that would be amazing. Please get in touch. This is our email, this is our website, and we'd love to hear from you. Have a lovely rest of the event.
So yes, go follow Repeats, they're amazing. Diana, do you want to?
So since we're a little bit behind, we're going to probably cut too much of this, the discussion and the exchange. If there's any burning questions, though, I want to offer those into the room. If not, I think we can take the discussion into lunch. Please do mix up, also talk with Yoli, talk with David, talk with Christina and others about their communication strategies and approaches and their assets. How many of you received our email with our link to the Trello board? Yeah, everyone in this room. Yeah. Anyone open it? Anyone share it with your communications colleagues? Those assets are ours. Oh, Richard's on the line. Wow, yay! Okay, well, we're definitely going to open up to questions about the virtual Peatland Pavilion, Richard. Now that I actually see you on the line, that's wonderful. Any questions for Richard on the virtual Peatland Pavilion explicitly, or just about how he managed to inspire and activate a whole community of people that weren't part of the Peatlands world, like architects, to design the Peatland Pavilion structure. And what would be the next movie in the cinema? So we have Matt and please introduce yourself. I missed your name.
Sure, no worries. My name is Emma Leslie. I am from WWF Peru. So quick question with regards to the site is, how do you generate traffic and how many people actually access the site and visit it for information? I think it's an impressive effort, but the key point is, how do we actually get it to people? Thanks.
Yes, thanks. And maybe we'll take one more from the floor in case that's also for you, Richard, and you can packet them together. Thanks. Matt from FAO.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Matt from, you just introduced me. I was just wondering, I understand there's also a physical installation that I haven't had the opportunity to see where, and I'm just kind of, is that right? And if so, what does it take to bring that kind of installation to one of our events, or if we have the opportunity to have that kind of in-person showcase the Peatland Pavilion in a virtual reality kind of format? Thanks.
Right. So first of all, can you hear me? Yep. Good. Technology's working. To take the physical question first, there was a physical Peatland Pavilion that was at Glasgow, COP26. The structure was then dismantled, so it's in storage at the moment. We've not taken it to any other COP, partly because the challenges of transporting it, in some cases through conflict zones. So at the moment, the only physical pavilion is the one that was at COP26 in Glasgow. The design of the physical pavilion is, we could make that available if people wanted to copy that. So that's the physical side of things. In terms of how the virtual pavilion is promoted, we've created a QR code, as you can see from my talk. There's also a URL. So we've been promoting both of those widely. And we are able to monitor traffic to the pavilion. So we've had people from around 40 countries who visited. Actual numbers are in the hundreds. It's really a case then of spreading the news that the pavilion exists and encouraging particularly those who don't really know much about peatlands. The Colombian presentation is exactly right. Our big problem is they're still invisible, particularly to policymakers and politicians, strategic planning. So encouraging people such as that to see what peatlands are, learn how to recognize them, see how we can conserve them. All of this is within the pavilion. We've got examples from Repeat. We've got, in fact, examples from Colombia. So it's a question really of the peatland community spreading the word about the pavilion and explaining why it's worth visiting.
Yes, thank you so much, Richard, for those questions. Those responses. One thing about the actual physical peatland pavilion, the structure that we see. Richard, you didn't say that you had a conversation. This was zero cost, right? I don't know if anyone out there has ever talked about, oh, let's do a pavilion at a COP, blah, 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 blah. The money that's required to deliver a design of a pavilion, build a pavilion, deliver a pavilion is up into what a small scale project is, sometimes 500,000, coming up to 100 million at these COPs. I think we had bare bones budget. This fabulous person on the screen had his colleague run a competition of master student architects to design the pavilion, and a group had some criteria around that design of the pavilion. They won a prize to have this recreated, not only in physical space, but in virtual space. There was no cost of that. Zero. Designing the pavilion. Building the pavilion, Richard, Julie, we had some expert construction people from the IUCN UK Peatland program and other GPI colleagues that were lucky enough to actually have gotten the clearance during COVID to attend the pavilion. I was not there. I remote controlled everything from my home office in Nairobi, and Patrick handled the translation. Very low cost, right? Actually, zero cost to construct it because we did it. Right? It's that spirit of collaboration. Okay, this is how much we've got. Let's do that. Let's pull this person in. Let's. Also, we have the beautiful photos of Tina Claffey, a macro photographer, who donated those photographs to the pavilion. So most of all the way, especially as well, Richard's hard work on the floors of the pavilion, designing and creating these incredible virtual spaces. This is the future. So invest in a VR camera. Let's go for ASMR on scale. Let's visit the pavilion and let's use these assets. So our communications group decided we usually have speakers cards. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your quote and your photo. Those are your assets. Share them out. Something that speaks to you, not only your individual card, but others in the community that you love their quote, something that spoke to you. Share it onward on social media so that also people can benefit from this in the room. We're going to say we love you, and we'll leave you, Richard. Thank you so much for joining us and all of your incredible work. And we're going to continue to talk communications over our lunch hour.